doing everything they talk about. You know I'm everything a boss about. Not putting work and gotta toss them out. I'm really biting, they just barking out. I'm really riding, they just parking out. His street, what to talk about. See the big H when I'm walking out. Yeah.
Well, this is a first. This is the first week under the Athletes Forum podcast. No longer base coverage. Shout out to everyone that's been following along, joining the locker room, joining the debates. I appreciate your support. And if you haven't already done so, welcome to the locker room. Hit that subscribe button and join. So we're gonna be doing things a little bit different, as I'm sure you've seen through previous episodes. But here on the Athletes Forum podcast is very interactive. I like to talk to the audience, who is now considered the locker room. So when I say, "What up, locker room?" or drop a comment in the locker room, I'm talking to you guys because I like to keep this thing interactive. And, with base coverage, obviously, it was so heavily geared towards the ELF. And I'm not really going to get away from it, maybe less of it, because I still want to cover the league. It's still one of the top leagues in Europe and definitely does have an impact. But I want to branch out. I want to grow this thing a little bit. So we're going to be reaching out, talking to other athletes, coaches, other sports, and kind of see where this thing goes. But this is the first, and we're going to keep this segment going. So week 6 in the ELF with the Athletes Forum podcast. We're going to be continuing this pick segment with First Down Magazine, and we're going to be diving into games and seeing how everything pans out. And we'll see how this goes. But again, thank you all for tuning in. It's been a pleasure. So week 6, it's been an interesting week thus far. And I think, wild is kind of an understatement with all the releases and new signings and, who's going where to what team and whatnot, that it kind of makes the games this week even more interesting, and it provides a little bit more, who has to get what, so to say. So we're going to go through our pick segment and see how we do this week. All right. Last week, pretty fair for the most part. Nothing too crazy, but we'll see how everything pans out this week. So let's not waste time. Let's get right into it, and let's talk about these games. All right. So Saturday we have Barcelona versus the Raiders. All right. Barcelona, they came off a bad loss versus, the Milan Seamen. The Raiders are playing well right now. They're actually a team that kind of underrated. No one, I think going into the season, we didn't really know who the Raiders were. I think it's hard to believe that they are where they are 4-1, but they're doing it. And I know they've been heavily criticized, obviously with all the quarterback changes, but they should also be praised for where they are now in week 6. If the season ended today, they'd be a playoff team. So the Raiders are back in action. I'm rocking with the Raiders for this game merely because I don't think Barcelona necessarily can compete. How do I want to phrase this? Raiders are a better team. I don't think Barcelona necessarily can match up skill for skill with the Raiders. Schaefer's been going off as of late. They're starting to get, Marco Schneider, Platzgummer more involved. They're getting the tight end more involved. He had a big week last week. And I think this quarterback provides a different dynamic that Case and Martin didn't. I think we're going to see a lot more mobility and a lot more how do I want to say this? A lot more big plays, so to say. Like, I don't know if Barcelona could keep up with the Raiders. And, Raiders are a team, as of the past couple weeks, have been making things a track meet. And can Barcelona keep up offensively? And, again, we'll see. But I'm going to rock with the Raiders. I'm not going to think too hard about it. I can see them going to 5-1. All right, next game, we got the Panthers versus the Vikings. Is Ben Holmes back? We don't know. We might find out during the show if he's back. The Panthers. What are the Panthers? We obviously knew they had a crazy schedule, but, even in some of those games, they still could have played better. They had a great game versus the Enthroners, but obviously that's, the Enthroners. And, can you do it against a playoff caliber team? Currently the 1 seed right now, the playoffs were to start today. And for the Panthers, I said it with Munich last week. It's getting late early, and I know I'm talking like this after they just got off of a win, but they gotta win these games. They gotta win the Surge. They gotta win the Vikings. They gotta win the Thunder. They gotta win those games if they're gonna make any type of impact. And it's gonna have to start this week. I don't think it's gonna start this week. I think the Vikings are too polished this year. They're a great team. Obviously, Reese Horn went off last week. You lose Bua, but you bring back Kimmy from who was the ELF champ year 2 MVP. You got Torre and obviously Pagerin at running back. So I don't know. The Panthers are a team that if they're going to make a statement, it has to be this week, or to be honest, it's going to get late early. But I'm going to rock with the Vikings in this game. Next game we got. This is going to be the First Down Magazine and Athletes Forum podcast game of the week. The Rhein Fire and the Madrid Bravos. So it's week 6. I get it. We're almost halfway through the season, but this game has so much riding on the line. The Fire cannot afford to lose this game. And Madrid's coming off a bye. They're ready. And the Fire, they're a team that will battle to the end of the fourth quarter, but they make things so hard. They make things so hard throughout the game. And, obviously Glenn's been going off as of lately. We're still waiting to see how big of an impact Jadrian can have and, from a passing standpoint. But you're going up against a team that, 1, beat you, 2, really kind of dominated the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, and which was surprising because even when Barcelona year 2 went up to Rhein and beat the Fire, they didn't do it dominating on the offensive line. They did it through the passing game. They did it through this, Kyle Sweet. They did it through obviously Zach Edwards. You got Jordan Bernardi with the game-winning interception. That was a team that was not built physically to beat the Fire, but they were built to match up skill for skill. And granted, it was a different Fire team. We get that. Madrid is built in both ways to beat the Fire. Now, I want to say Fire are ready. They've been hearing the talks. They've been waiting for this game to get their chance at Madrid. But I keep going back to that first game was won in the trenches. And I expect a low-scoring game, 23-21, 24-17. For the most part, I think these teams are going to try to establish the run game, and on the opposite side, try to stop the run, try to keep the other offense off. This is Madrid's second home game. It's a game that they're going to be up for. I'm going to rock with the Madrid Bravos to win, take a hold of the West, and then things get a little interesting. Things get a lot of interesting. We'll see how that pans out. We'll see how that pans out. Next game, we got the Enthroners versus the Milan team. And Milan, you can argue Milan's probably one of the hottest teams right now and trending in the right direction. All right, signed Jock Crawford. Zach Bronkhurst has been getting better each and every game. I've been talking to Matt, and we've been telling people Zach is a good quarterback. He's been competing. And they just been getting better and better and better and making subtle improvements. And that's all you have to do. I wish Helveller could make subtle improvements, but that's a story for a different day. All right. Enthroners. I don't know. I feel like the Enthroners are a team that has been waiting to go up against a team that they feel they could beat. You play the Panthers, you play the Thunder, you play the who else did they play? I don't know. But what I'm getting at is I think they have a shot in this game. Matter of fact, I'm gonna call an upset. The main reason why I think Enthroners might have a chance to win this game is this is the type of game where your 2 A's on the defensive line might come into play. Going up against a Milan team that's O-line isn't the greatest, so maybe they get pressure off the edge. Those defensive ends, Crenshaw and Jabari, are fast enough and skilled enough to run with Zach and maybe keep him in the pocket, but they're going to have to stop the run because Zach and Jock might be too much. If you could stop one of them, you might have a chance. And then DBs, they don't have Milan doesn't have an A at DB. Now, I know we do this whole thing about Americans and receivers, and there's some skill Euros, but that sets up for a game that could be evenly matched. And I think Enthroners are going into this game like it's winnable. And Milan doesn't play a lot of man coverage. I don't see anyone in the secondary stopping Nathaniel Robitaille. I'm gonna go with the upset. I'm gonna shoot my shot. I'm gonna say Anthronis get the win, first win of the season. We'll see how that pans out. All right, next game. I'm just gonna keep this one short and sweet. There's been a lot going on with Helvetic. They don't need any more bashing. You've released guys. You got guys going on IR. What's organization doing from the top? Surge going to win this game. Surge going to win this game. Riley Hennessy having an MVP season, may not even play the full game, may not even have to play the full game. It's just things aren't clicking in Switzerland for Helvetic. So Surge going to win this game. Next one. Cologne, Paris. You know, if there weren't a lot of transactions going on with Cologne, I might take them in this game. I think they have a run game and a play action game that can keep Panthers off schedule, so to say. And they've been surprising teams. We saw what they did leading up to week 1 when they played the Fire, right? We saw what they did playing Madrid. That game was a lot closer than people expected. So what do they got to do versus Paris? And the thing with Paris is they have all the tools and everything they need to succeed. But sorry, I got a little excited. They have all the tools and everything that they need to succeed, but now they got to play a full game. They didn't play a full game versus the Fire. They didn't play a full game versus the Galaxy. Can they put it all together, right? Is Anthony Mahongu back? Austin Mitchell, what's his impact? We'll see. But then, again, Cologne's had a lot of transactions, stuff I'm not comfortable enough with going against them. I think Jared Allman can have a great game this game, but I'm going to rock with Paris to win this. All right, Berlin versus Prague. Prague just let go Kyrie Lyles, and their QB coach is now coming into play. I can see this being a trend. Where teams are signing quarterback coaches who are American as an emergency option, but is already there, right? So, and that's nothing against Chris or Hazelton, whatever his name is. I'm sorry if I'm botching your name. No disrespect. I watch your podcast, Adventure Athlete. Nothing against him, but I could kind of see this being a trend around the league going forward. It's an easy move to get another American on. He's right there, so we'll see what happens. And who knows if he's a quarterback going forward or if they actually bring another guy in. But anyway, they're playing Berlin. Berlin, man. Similar situation with Panthers. I think these two teams just can't get out of their own way right now. I think Berlin late in that game versus Fire got a little tight. Things didn't get creative. Things didn't start going their way. And obviously they lost it. They lost that game. They lost that game more than probably the Fire won that game. But a loss is a loss. Berlin bouncing back this week. I think they take care of business in Prague. I won't keep this one too long. All right. Now we go to the OG matchup, the first rivalry, Hamburg versus Frankfurt. Both teams coming off a bye. We'll see how this pans out. I think these are two teams that need this game more than anybody thinks. The Sea Devils, they lose the tiebreaker versus Paris, but if they're the next team to go in, if anything were to happen in terms of playoff-wise, and Frankfurt, I think the thing that concerns me with Frankfurt is not really the skill that they have, because they have the tools and the players to compete. When Coach Rozier was the head coach at Cologne that second year, their offense was great that first couple games of the season. High scoring, high power, fast. No one could get a grip. As soon as they lost to Barcelona, things started going downhill. I think that contributes to maybe not as much creativity, maybe not as much adjustments or, the scheming up plays. And I think it might be starting to catch up again. That same offense, you look at Frankfurt, and they really haven't lived up to expectations that you want them. All right. So we'll see how that pans out. And then Hamburg on the other side. You know what? Hamburg's hard to get a grip on, like the type of team that they are, who they want to be. I tell you what, if Hamburg could get a win here, this would be a big win. This would tell us a lot of different things about, the Sea Devils and, where they could potentially go. If they could be, they're not winning the West. I'm sorry. They're not winning the West. But can they be that next wild card team in? Can they be that third or second West team to sneak in? We'll see. At home in Frankfurt, coming off a bye, both teams coming off a bye. I think Frankfurt takes this one. I think the difference maker is actually not Markel Castle. I think it's Kevin Kaya. I think Lee Pitts, they're probably going to put him over Markel. I think Kevin Kaya has the potential to maybe have a big game and be that difference maker. So let me give Kevin Kaya a little fantasy shout out this weekend. Maybe he could prove me right, but we'll see what happens. But I'm going to rock with Frankfurt to win this game. So picks. I got the Raiders. I got the Vikings. I got Madrid. I got the Enthroners. I got the Surge. I got Paris. Got Berlin. I got Frankfurt. So that's my picks going up against First Down Magazine. We'll see how it pans out. You know, we're leading right now. It's a tight race, but we'll see how things pan out. Thank you all for tuning in to the Athletes Forum podcast. More content coming soon. Again, this is going to advance. It's going to grow. We're going to dive into more than just football, more than just the ELF, and I'm excited for it. So